Do you see how that's incredibly offensive?
Yes, I do. That's why I said it.
Welcome to Watch Mojo. And today we're counting down the most notorious, horrible, cruel, or offensive Karen incidents for each year of the 21st century so far.
And a Valley woman is going viral after being caught on camera deliberately coughing on customers in a grocery store.
2000, anchored down. Working as a Canadian news anchor in 1999, the wheels on Avery Haynes' career came off due to a joke being accidentally aired by a technician in January 2000. Haynes was recording an introduction for a report only to stumble over her words.
Haynes stumbled on one of her lines.
Yesterday, protesting Ottawa's farm-aid program.
The so-called joke she made about her flub has changed her life.
She then made an offensive joke about her brief stuttering being an equal opportunity. Haynes pushed it further with stereotypes and claimed she would have a successful career as such.
I kind of like the little stuttering thing. It's like equal opportunity, right? We have a stuttering newscaster.
Haynes was fired from the job and the technician was suspended. She did apologize and continued to have a successful career in the news business. 2001, tennis tirade. Serena and Venus Williams are two of the greatest athletes the United States has ever produced. While the duo have had all the success on the tennis court, sometimes journalists have made horrible comments. For example, Sid Rosenberg in 2001. While on radio's Imus in the Morning to discuss the French Open, the controversial sports broadcaster called both sisters boys when discussing their appearance, and derogatorily referred to both Venus and Serena.
Serena shocked by racist heckler.
See, I personally stayed away from that for your benefit.
I was on an airplane.
Even fellow guests and contributors on the show were astonished at the rant. 2002, pitching slurs. After making inflammatory comments filled with slurs to Sports Illustrated in 1999, you'd think baseball pitcher John Rocker would have kept his head down and focused on his MLB career.
It was the comments he made to Sports Illustrated writer Jeff Pearlman that caused a national outcry. Rocker told SI he would never play for a New York team.
But no. In 2002, he was at a restaurant in Dallas, Texas. Reportedly, Rocker loudly uttered homophobic insults at two men before he left. Then, out in the parking lot, Rocker got into a vile argument with a transgender woman. Rocker later apologized and claimed he was badgered by customers there.
But when people say, you're racist, you're a bigot, how do you respond?
Oh, well, I guess you think I am, whatever you think.
But, like, what's the reality of the situation?
I mean, just what can you say, you know? I know who I am, my friends know who I am.
Regardless, that doesn't give the pitcher leeway to be horrendous. A waiter who was working there dismissed Rocker's versions of events. 2003, mayonnaise mayhem. In 2003, Waynetta Nolan was handed the cheeseburger she ordered at the drive-thru at McDonald's in Houston, Texas. But when she examined it, she realized there was no mayonnaise on it, which didn't come with that burger. After arguing with the staff, Nolan lobbed the mayonnaise-less item at them. When manager Sherry Jenkins offered her a specially made burger, Nolan complained about the fries and soda. With Nolan still angry, Jenkins called the cops, then went outside to write down Nolan's license plate number. Then Nolan hit Jenkins with her car, breaking the manager's pelvis, before speeding off. She was later arrested and claimed she accidentally hit the accelerator. Nolan was sentenced to 10 years in prison. 2004, broadcasting bias. At one point, Ron Atkinson was a respected former soccer player and manager who had started a new career in punditry and commentary for matches. But when Monaco faced Chelsea in the Champions League semifinal in 2004, Atkinson tarnished any goodwill he had created.
I'm not talking to anybody. I'm sitting there I'm like this, just watching tape roll around. I'm muttering, if anything. And then they showed Desai, who had also been critical of in the game. And that is when apparently I made the alleged remark.
Working on ITV, he was heard on his microphone making a horrible comment about Chelsea's Marcel Desailly that continued a racial slur. While it wasn't broadcast in the UK, it was heard in the Middle East and other parts of the world.
Atkinson made the comments after Tuesday's Champions League match between Chelsea and Monaco.
I put the television on and just checked through the news headlines, and it was on there.
And I thought, oh, what's he done now? Because he's prone to gaffes anyway. And I saw what it was. I couldn't believe it.
With no way back from that, Atkinson apologized and resigned from his position in disgrace. 2005, Maximus Decimus Carenius. Many of us had issues at some point in connecting a phone call.
I have to ask this question. A lot of this trouble happened because you were trying to make a phone call to your wife, and I never heard in all the accounts I've read, did you ever get to make that phone call?
No.
You've never, you're
No,
still waiting
since
then, right?
Yeah.
But not many of us have taken it out on someone who has nothing to do with technical issues. But then again, we're not Russell Crowe. In 2005, the Gladiator actor was at the Mercer Hotel in New York when his room landline couldn't get through to his wife in Australia.
His response was, whatever, and he hung up on me, so I went downstairs and had a word with him.
Crowe allegedly pulled the device from the wall, argued with the concierge, then threw the phone at him, causing injuries. While the following lawsuit from the victim was settled for a figure reportedly in the six figures, Crowe had to face criminal charges.
I never touched him, mate. Never touched him, never laid a finger on him.
Due to admitting fault, he was given a conditional discharge and fined $160. 2006, Karen Kramer. Due to his multi-award-winning work as Cosmo Kramer on Seinfeld, Michael Richards was a respected actor and comedian. But then his 2006 stand-up set happened at the Laugh Factory in Hollywood, California. Being heckled as a comedian is pretty typical. Richards' reaction? Not so much.
All right, you see? It shocks you. It shocks you.
He was recorded on stage going on an expletive-filled rant at a group of people and, more shockingly, screaming racial slurs several times. Unsurprisingly, there was a lot of outrage. An infamous apology on The Late Show with David Letterman with aid from Jerry Seinfeld didn't make the matter go away for Richards.
I lost my temper on stage. I was at a comedy club trying to do my act, and I got heckled, and I took it badly and went into a rage.
2007, abandoning the elderly. In 2007, a couple heard a strange moaning sound coming from the local garbage dump in Erode, Tamil Nadu, India. When the couple arrived, they discovered an ill elderly woman, Chinamal Polanyappan. They took Polanyappan home and fed her as she told them the story. She stated that she had been living with one of her daughters. However, after an argument in the family over who would look after the ill Polanyappan, the daughter took her two sons, Polanyappan's grandsons, to take her somewhere she couldn't come back from. So they bundled her into a vehicle and dropped her at a dump. Unfortunately, Polanyappan didn't know her daughter's address. A week after, she sadly passed away. 2008, Radio Karen's Taxi. After working as a news reporter for various regional channels, Sam Mason became a reporter for BBC Radio Bristol in 2008. And only 2 months later, she wrecked her career trajectory. While off air, Mason called a local taxi firm to pick up her teenage daughter to take her to her grandparents.
Here is part of that telephone call.
I know this sounds really racist, and I'm not being, please don't send anyone that might, do you know what I mean? An English person would be great, a female would be better. Right, okay, we can't actually, I mean, we would class that as being racist.
During the call, Mason requested the company not send an Asian driver as a guy with a turban might freak her out. The operator refused to book the racist request, angering the BBC DJ who called back later to speak to the manager. Mason was also fired for her terrible behavior.
Dispatcher released the tape of the call to the press in Great Britain, and now the BBC has fired Mason.
The operator who had illegally recorded the conversation and sent it to the media was unfortunately also let go. 2009, tantrum in the terminal. In 2009, before the word Karen was used as a negative adjective, we had a viral incident of one at the Hong Kong International Airport. According to reports, an unnamed Chinese woman had missed her flight to San Francisco, California. Instead of handling it like a grown-up, she had a full-blown temper tantrum. After attempting to run past security to the airplane and failing badly, she resorted to yelling. Then Airport Karen threw herself to the floor while bellowing, "I want to go," in Cantonese as an embarrassed older man tried to get her up. The airline, Cathay Pacific, who seemed far too accommodating to her bizarre antics, put the woman on a later flight to Los Angeles. 2010, McNugget Menace. Most people like to mark the new year by either taking care of themselves after a late night or doing something significant. Well, Melody Duchesne decided to celebrate 2010 with a crime. She was at a drive-thru window for a McDonald's in Toledo, Ohio. However, as it was the morning, she couldn't get the chicken McNugget she wanted.
The Ohio woman wants a McNugget so badly, she went a bit McNuts.
Instead of getting something else or waiting, Duchesne leaned inside, hit the two employees, then chucked a bottle through the window before speeding off. She was later arrested for her antics, which she claimed took place under the influence of alcohol. Regardless, Duchesne was sentenced to 60 days in jail, 3 years of probation, and had to pay for the restaurant's new window. 2011, the NeverEnding Call. When you're in the quiet carriage of a train, you'd expect it to be, well, quiet. But not if you had Lakeisha Beard aboard in 2011. As passengers settled in for a long journey from Oakland, California to Salem, Oregon, Beard decided to fill in the time by talking on her phone, which is already against the rules.
She is 39-year-old Lakeisha Beard. She was charged with disorderly conduct.
But she did it for 16 hours. Even with people getting annoyed and arguing with her, forcing staff to get involved and make repeated announcements, Beard wouldn't get off her device.
Passengers say she talked loudly on her phone nearly nonstop for 16 hours. From Oakland, California to Salem, that's 16 hours.
After the chatty Karen got aggressive with a frustrated passenger, she was removed from the train and charged by police for disorderly conduct. Beard stated she felt disrespected by the removal. 2012, United Nations Karen. Using the London Underground can already be annoying enough. It's crowded, the tube's noisy, and you're lucky to get a seat. But in 2012, Jacqueline Woodhouse made it a lot worse. As she got on, she walked into a black woman, sparking a drunk Woodhouse to erupt in a curse word-filled racist rant.
Jacqueline Woodhouse said she was so drunk when she boarded this Central Line train, she couldn't remember the journey. Those who shared the carriage certainly remember.
On top of telling non-white passengers that it's not their country, she uttered her racist idea that while she used to live in England, now it's turned into the United Nations. After the video was released, Woodhouse handed herself into the police, where she was charged for her tirade.
Woodhouse's outrageous behaviour was filmed by a passenger who protested.
Watch what you say. Yeah, watch what you're saying.
I used to live in England, now I live in the United Nations.
So keep your mouth shut then.
On top of losing her job, she was sentenced to 21 weeks in jail and got a 5-year antisocial behavior order. 2013, terrible tweet. Before boarding a flight from London, England to Cape Town, South Africa, Juntine Sacco sent out a tweet in 2013. When she landed 11 hours later, she saw the massive outrage from her words and the hashtag has Juntine landed.
Her Twitter account exploding, her reputation imploding. Online critics launched the hashtag Has Justine Landed Yet? Anxiously awaiting the moment Sacco would get online and perhaps discover at last the severity of the response.
There were articles, parody accounts, and angry posts everywhere. It's not too surprising considering Sacco put up a horrendous joke stating she was off to South Africa in hopes she wouldn't contract AIDS. But she wouldn't since she's white. Sacco, who was born in South Africa, apologized for her remarks. However, that didn't stop her from being fired as a senior director of corporate communications for the company she worked for.
She was fired Saturday from her top PR job at internet giant IAC, where she repped some of the biggest names online.
2014, appalling in Australia. In 2014, a packed train in Sydney, Australia was made more stressful with Karen Bailey on board. She was recorded going off on a racist rant, using derogatory language and gestures against Asian people, all while pretending her name was Sue Wilkins to escape consequences.
The whole train's looking at you.
Yeah, that's great. I can video too. I can do that too.
However, that didn't work. Bailey claimed she was under a lot of stress after being scammed out of $100,000 by a man she met on a dating site. Struggling to find work and knee pain, she was charged for her terrible behavior and pleaded guilty, but escaped a fine. Instead, she got a 12-month good behavior bond.
Oh, I'm deeply ashamed of what I've done. It's awful. No one deserves to be spoken to like that. It's awful. It's disgusting.
However, unsurprisingly, Bailey continued to struggle with finding work as a legal secretary in the immediate aftermath. 2015, second time's no charm. Having been fired from her workplace in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina for yelling racial slurs at a customer in 2015, Tara Lynn Belcher went for double or nothing. After a man from the store followed her outside the parking lot to record her, she launched into another racist tirade against him.
Thousands on social media have seen the video, and the man who shot it says he couldn't believe the words the woman was yelling, so he began recording on his cell phone to show her boss.
She followed up by spitting on the guy, causing him to react physically. The man also claimed Belcher pulled his dreadlocks. However, when the police arrived on a false robbery claim, Belcher claimed the man had spat on her, attacked her, and stolen her cell phone. When they saw the video evidence, they arrested Belcher for assault, battery, and possessing an illegal substance.
And once they seen the video, they seen that that story that she told them was not the truth.
2016, broker brawl. In 2016, Taiwanese securities broker Dina Huang Chi-young was returning to her Singapore condominium in a taxi after a night of entertaining clients and consuming a massive amount of sake. However, she decided not to pay and attempted to leave, forcing the driver to hold on to her bag. Huang responded by hitting him multiple times and screaming at him, even bragging about her wealth. When he released her, she went and got help from a manager at a nearby restaurant. Then Huang attacked a security guard, biting the latter. When the police arrived, they found the broker asleep outside the restaurant. In 2018, Huang was jailed for 3 weeks and fined $1,000 for her rampage of assaults. 2017, shopping for ignorance. All it took was Eva Hicks politely asking to move past a woman in a Walmart in Bentonville, Arkansas. Back in 2017, she was trying to get some medicine, but what she got was a Karen launching into a racist tirade.
Don't be rude.
You're the one that's rude.
No, I said,
Yes, you
excuse me,
are.
I'm trying to buy
You're
something.
In America.
So?
You're in America.
So what?
The unnamed woman began complaining that she had apparently been told to move aside on every aisle during her shopping, before telling Hicks to go back to Mexico. When another customer thankfully called this Karen ignorant, she reiterated by spitting out a racial slur. An assistant manager eventually arrived to stand up for Hicks and the other customer, which upset Karen. So she headed for the hills.
During the incident, several bystanders and a store manager stepped in to defend Hicks.
I feel love. I feel like, yes, I belong here.
2018, Permit Patty. It takes a special kind of Karen to complain to the cops about a child selling bottles of water on the street to raise money to go to Disneyland. But that's exactly what Allison Edel did, now also known as Permit Patty.
This woman is Allison Edel. This morning, she's a social media villain for calling the cops on her young neighbor.
She was recorded telling the police the African-American girl was selling the water illegally without a permit. Edel claimed she took action since she was working from her San Francisco, California home, but the noise from the sales was distracting her. She also stated she didn't actually call the cops, but her 911 call audio was discovered. Uh-oh. With the massive backlash, Edel was forced to resign as CEO of her company after local businesses cut ties with the firm.
However things unfolded, the backlash has been fierce. Dispensaries have pulled Edel's products off the shelves. She said she's received numerous death threats, while also being called a racist.
2019, No Apology Karen. If you were at a restaurant and another table was apparently being loud, would you talk to them reasonably or aggressively confront them and mutter racial slurs? If you awfully chose the latter, you'd be in the same boat as Nancy Goodman in 2019.
A North Carolina woman is defending her use of a racial slur in a video that's now gone viral.
I've got real really good friends that are black, and I love them.
We never said anything about color.
At a grill restaurant in Raleigh, North Carolina, she was filmed by Shonda Stewart and Lakeisha Shaw as she got into an argument with them and used a racial insult. When she was interviewed later by the media, Goodman refused to apologize, stated she would use the slur again, and mentioned one of the causes was that she had tremendous anxiety, as though that gave her a pass.
I'm not going to say I'm sorry to them, because they kept pushing at it. So, and that's all I'd really like to say.
What about your use of the N-word?
I use that word because they forced me into it.
The restaurant was horrified at what happened and banned Goodman from their establishments. 2020, Central Park Karen. In 2020, comic book creator Christian Cooper was enjoying the outdoors and bird watching in New York City's famed Central Park. However, his eyes left the feathered creatures when he saw Amy Cooper, no relation, and her dog who was off its leash, which was prohibited there. After Christian asked her to put a leash on her dog, Amy Cooper did something dangerous and vile.
There is an African-American man. I am in Central Park. He is recording me and threatening myself and my dog.
If you have been on social media today, you have likely seen this. A Central Park confrontation went viral, netting more than 25 million views.
She called the cops and made up a story about an African-American man threatening her. She was investigated for her fake report, but eventually any charges were dropped after she completed an educational program on racial identity. However, the court of public opinion ruled harshly against her, and she was fired from her job at an investment firm. She appealed that firing, but lost that case in 2023.
Cooper was immediately fired from her job. Reports say Cooper has lost her suit against Franklin Templeton, which claimed she was illegally fired and portrayed as a racist.
2021, Coughing Karen. It's bonkers how many Karens were triggered by people trying to stay safe during a pandemic by wearing masks and social distancing. And in 2021, it was Janine Hoskovec's turn in that disappointing spotlight.
A woman caught on camera coughing at customers at a grocery store.
Before anybody started talking about COVID, you were okay with that, though, going out not knowing you were sick.
She was recorded following a woman and her child around a store in Lincoln, Nebraska. On top of refusing to wear a mask and bringing out the cliche of referring to those wearing masks as sheep, Hoskovec was enjoying spreading fear as she repeatedly coughed at the woman, smirking as she claimed it was due to allergies. As the footage spread outrage online, Hoskovec's employers at a German software company were notified. They investigated the incident and then fired her.
Internet investigators also identifying Hoskovec's employer as SAP, which confirmed it was investigating the situation, later tweeting she no longer works there.
2022, Plano Karen. In 2022, after an evening at a restaurant in Plano, Texas, 4 Indian American women were set to get in their cars and head home. Instead, Esmeralda Upton popped up in the parking lot. Reportedly, without any provocation, she began ranting at them.
Steve, we talked to one of the women in the group. She says she's still traumatized by the racial slurs and the assault.
Upton stated how much she hates Indians while throwing in more racial slurs, insults, and then getting physical with them. When she realized one of the women was recording the encounter, Upton's rage increased.
The assailant just said, "Go back where you came from," and she used some harsh words, derogatory words, and then she walked right up to us.
And the first thing we did was I started recording, and the other friend, she called 911.
She even threatened their lives. The police eventually arrived, but did little except de-escalate the situation. However, the next day they arrested Upton on several charges.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications.
2023, Bellowing Intimidation. It's always impressive how calm people can be when faced with horrid racism. In 2023, Rita Baloo was at a pizzeria in Hatboro, Pennsylvania. Livid that the establishment had Spanish on the TV, she launched into a tirade against the owner, Omar Quinones.
You want to tell me Spanish on your TV?
What's wrong with that?
What's wrong with that? Because you're not American, dude.
Police used this video as part of their investigation.
After claiming the Spanish program was an insult to Americans, Baloo demanded her money back and claimed Quinones was an illegal immigrant.
The rant went on for several minutes, but throughout it all, Omar remained calm.
I was angry, but I'll explain that. I just want to be like them.
Weirdly, she called the other staff members racist for filming the incident, then began recording herself and making up what happened. The police arrived later, and Baloo was charged with ethnic intimidation and harassment. Which Karen story horrified you the most? Let us know in the comments below.
You're not American.
American, get off of my property.
Suarez says for more than a year, Klein, a complete stranger, terrorized her family at their home in South St. Louis.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.